Hello guys, welcome back to your video. Today we are reacting to Game Theory. Will your favorite channel survive 2020? COPPA by the Game Theory. So I really expect so 3, 2, 1. Let's react.
I'm on the couch. The thumbnail looks like this. Or maybe even, if we're feeling spicy. So, this episode is probably going to be serious. And it is. One of the most serious ones of these couch times, these mat chats that we've had. So, let's just hop into it. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory for what could honestly be one of the last times. Because in 1 month, we're getting ourselves a new year, a new decade, and most importantly of all, a new YouTube. One that threatens to wipe out huge chunks of content and content creators that you know and love and have been watching since you were young. Especially the ones that you've been watching since you were young. And if you're a content creator on this platform right now, I'm telling you right here that you have got to be nervous about what 2020 is bringing to your life and to your channel. What we're talking about today should, for all intents and purposes, have some positive effects, but be careful what you wish for, friends, since it'll be taking with it, well, it's actually hard to tell how far-reaching this thing's gonna get. But if you're a channel like Dan the Diamond Minecart, Collins Key, Guava Juice, if you play or enjoy watching Roblox, if you're a gaming channel in general, but especially a Minecraft channel, you better be worried about what 2020 has to offer. The YouTube animation community, finally back and thriving after years of struggling to find a foothold on this platform, they're at risk. Heck, after surviving years of press outlets trying to take him down, it might even be the thing to finally sink the captain of the old 9-year-old army over there, PewDiePie. And I'm not calling out any of these channels without reason. They need, and we all need, to be aware of what's coming, and we need to start talking about it. We as content creators need to start telling our stories. Heck, we might even need to be changing our content. Most importantly, we need to spread awareness of this massive sledgehammer that's going to be hitting our channels and, more importantly, our communities in literally 1 month. And it's time that we break the silence about the impact it's going to have here on YouTube. I wish that what I was talking about right now were funny or clickbait in some way, but it's not a joke and it's not a play for views. It's the fallout of a recent settlement between the FTC and YouTube about what content is and isn't allowed to have advertisements on the platform. You might have seen some of this addressed by channels like Phil DeFranco, Lindsay Ellis, a few other people out there, and they might have mentioned terms like FTC, COPPA, advertising laws, or you might have noticed some of the articles circulating about YouTube having to pay a massive fine in websites like The Verge or The New York Times. Now, why should you care about some random law or YouTube having to pay some big fine? You don't know your FTC from your FDA from your WTF. And none of this has anything to do with you or what you watch on YouTube, right? Wrong. But to understand why YouTube channels might be disappearing, or at the very least, their content might be changing substantially from what you've grown accustomed to, we have to look at what's been happening over the last couple years on YouTube first. Clearly, YouTube over the last 2 years has been really working to navigate the tricky waters of kids' content. It really began back in 2017 with Elsagate, where YouTube suddenly came under fire for the sheer volume of adults choosing to dress up in Spider-Man costumes in their spare time and then chase around the frozen Princess Elsa for about 15 minutes, uploading it onto the platform and profiting. Sometimes, to really spice up the formula of those videos, the Joker would be mixed in too and trying to woo Elsa. Sometimes Elsa was even pregnant. It was top tier quality kids content.
Yeah, I remember those. That was all just recommended. Elsa and Spider-Man, and sometimes even Joker. Sometimes it's like a Marvel. Sometimes Batman would come. It's very random.
No, it wasn't. It was just a weird time. And YouTube agreed, wiping out those channels from the platform as well as other questionable kids' content. Then, earlier this year, YouTube came under fire yet again, when it was found out that the comment sections in some kids' channels were becoming message boards for... how do I put this? You know, the kind of people who would watch kids' channels and are old enough and creepy enough to use the comment section, type down there. Yeah, you get it, right? And I'm not talking about mothers who are sharing parenting tips down there. Fine, YouTube makes it so that comments are disabled on those videos. Another problem solved. Boom, moving on with our lives. But it's the most recent controversy that suddenly pulled in creators large and small without any of us actually realizing it. You see, a few months ago, YouTube was fined for violating COPPA. That's these guys right here. The Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act, which was established way back in the aught days of 1998, back when the internet really started to take hold and kids realized that it was the cool place to be. Well, during that time, advertisers also realized that it was the cool place to be because, quite frankly, it was a place that they could market lots of stuff to gullible kids. So COPPA was put in place to keep children's websites from collecting data about kids under 13 without their parents' permission. Now, why would you do that? Well, the idea is that children are impressionable and they can't distinguish ads from regular content, so it's unfair and unethical to advertise to them. And this principle isn't wrong by any means. It's actually been proven time and again by science. I've actually talked about it before over on Film Theory during my episode that looks at the scarily illegal merchandising practices of Jake Paul. So, if you want more information on children's development as it relates to advertising, or are just looking for more reasons to dunk on Mr. Everyday Bro, I'll leave a link down in the description. The long and short of it is that with all the data on people that's available on the internet, advertisements can just get scarily personal. And I think we can all agree that it is not okay to get too personal when you're dealing with someone else's kids. So COPPA then was meant to be the solution to this problem, basically telling websites, hey, don't go collecting creepy data on kids like where they live, what school they go to, why they were picked last at dodgeball last week. Fine, that's all well and good, totally valid. But the original writing of this law is, it's laughable. According to the act, you can only collect data on kids if you get a parent's permission through methods such as the following. Having parents sign a consent form returned to the operator of the website by postal mail or facsimile. Literally, they have to send a permission slip for a website through the mail, or get this, a toll-free number that parents could call and or an email accompanied by a valid digital signature. Sign a consent form for the internet and then fax it in to the good people who are working at YouTube, who will put you in their little file folder of, I'm sure, the millions to billions of people using the website. I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki, and she told me that sometimes she's trying to explain YouTube to lawmakers who literally don't own a cell phone. People making laws on this stuff don't own cell phones in 2019. When you read laws like COPPA, I feel like you start to get an idea of what she's dealing with here. But here's the thing. YouTube should have won this battle, but then they had to go and screw it all up. You see, technically speaking, YouTube has been COPPA compliant for years. YouTube is a PG-13 platform. Sure, it contains lots of ABC videos, and Pink Fong's Baby Shark has been watched nearly 4 billion times.
4 billion times. Wow, did that beat out Gangnam Style? Did that beat out Gangnam Style? Did the Baby Shark video beat out Gangnam Style? I want to know that, but 4 billion views. That's too many.
4 billion views on that video. Remember when we were all freaking out that Psy's Gangnam Style crossed the 1 billion mark? I contributed 5 views to Baby Shark this morning, in fact. Just all kids things gravitate towards it. It's like a gravity well. But regardless of the success of that one very specific song, in order to sign up for an account here, you have to be 13. Do people lie about their age? Sure. But according to YouTube's own terms of service, you have to be 13 to be on this website, specifically because of all of these reasons. YouTube, go figure, is collecting data for its advertisers. That is the whole point of us producing videos here. That's their whole business model. YouTube Kids, that separate website, that separate app, that is supposed to be the place to adhere to all of these rules. On YouTube proper, everything is 13 plus. There's an argument to be made here that it's up to the parents to read the terms of service for the stuff that their kids are using and then decide if they're comfortable with the ads showing up in front of those kids. I mean, it's not YouTube's job to babysit their children. Or, at least, that should be the argument that's happening here. But then YouTube had to go and open its big mouth and screw it all up. You see, over the years, YouTube has spent a lot of time touting the fact that kids are practically crawling all over the platform. And of course, when you put stuff like that on paper, it's gonna come back and haunt you. And in 2019, it finally did. The FTC compiled a whole bunch of statements from YouTube as a part of this fine, where representatives tell advertisers things like this. Quote, "It's the #1 place for kids' online content." And, quote again, "YouTube is today's leader in reaching children ages 6 to 11. Guys, come on. YouTube is unanimously voted the #1 website visited for kids. It just keeps going and going. Come on, YouTube! You thought PewDiePie over there was the one making oopsies for the past 2 years? So, lo and behold, the FTC fines YouTube $170 million, basically telling them, hey, you guys clearly knew that there were a lot of kids using YouTube Main, not YouTube Kids, and you didn't do anything to sort that out. In fact, you were kinda bragging about it, so pay up. And you know what? It's kinda true. Now, again, those kids should have all been using their parents' account, meaning that they should all have permission from their parents, or at the minimum, implicit permission from their parents. I mean, sure, it's no Pony Express telegraph wire to the YouTube home office in San Bruno like COPPA requests, but, you know, technology changes over the years. Maybe parents should be paying attention to the fact that those toy unboxing videos kind of look like commercials. Anyway, I'm not here to take sides because
Alright.
honestly, it's too late. We're way beyond arguing sides because now, in addition to that cool 170 mil, YouTube's settlement involves them agreeing to take action to separate advertisers from kids' content on the platform. What does that exactly mean? Well, the FTC has basically said that ads targeting kids aren't allowed on kids' content. That's the whole point of COPPA that we've been talking about. Anything labeled as kids' content on YouTube, therefore, will lose what are known as targeted ads starting January 1st, 2020. It's unclear how much of a typical YouTuber's ad revenue comes from targeted ads, but from our research, it seems to be between 80 and 90%, meaning that if a creator is losing targeted ads on their video, they lose up to 90% of their ad revenue. Now, most people you and I know couldn't afford to lose 80 to 90% of their salary at their job, and this is gonna stay true even for big YouTubers. Since most of them at this point aren't just paying themselves, but paying a team of people around them who work for them to edit, produce their videos, do all the other cool stuff that YouTubers are doing for their community. But I hear what you're saying. I'm not a kid. Or at the very least, I'm not under 13. I don't watch kids' content. This law doesn't affect me or the videos that I watch or the creators that I love. But ask yourself this, are you sure about that? Because here's how YouTube currently defines kids' content. It's content that, quote, intentionally is aimed at kids, includes characters, celebrities, or toys that appeal to children, including animated characters or cartoon figures. 3, has a predominantly child audience. And 4, contains activities that appeal to children. Okay, so some of the stuff here is obvious, right? Like a toy unboxing video, or my son Oliver's favorite song, Freeze Dance, Freeze Song, Freeze Dance for Kids, Music for Kids by the Kaboomers. Wow, that is literally the title of the video. It's almost like kids' content on YouTube is engineered to attract kids by gaming search algorithms, go figure. But look again at those 4 qualifiers. A lot of stuff on YouTube falls into a weird gray area with those bullet points. You ever watch a slime video? Okay, well, it's not surprising that that would attract a child audience and have things that appeal to kids. What about pancake art? Sure, I don't see too many adults making art on their pancakes. But what about a video with title and thumbnail like this? That's from the Jake Paul channel, who has explicitly stated that his audience is predominantly preteens, and whose videos contain 4-year-olds.
Yeah, my audience is definitely younger. I would say it's like 8 years old to like 16 years old.
One look at the audience who shows up for his live tour, and you see that he's not wrong about the demographics of his audience. So if this sort of stuff is what the kids are watching, the lines start to get blurry really fast. What about How It Should Have Ended? Or Whitney Avalon's Elsa versus Snow White rap battles? I mean, both of those channels feature characters that are popular with the kids. What about the animated storytellers of YouTube? Those characters are fun, and they're cute, and they're approachable, and they're appealing, and they're telling funny stories that relate to all ages, but definitely to kids under 13. How about a little bit closer to home, here on this channel in the gaming space? Roblox? Yeah, that one's gonna take a big hit, but how about Minecraft? Like a channel who does in-game builds or uses characters to tell storylines. Minecraft is obviously a game we understand that's for all ages, but a lot of children play it. A lot of children watch that sort of content, so where does that line get drawn? Pokemon? Yeah, it's a nostalgic property, but it's still one of the biggest games for kids these days. And then there's Fortnite, still one of the biggest games in the world played by kids of all ages, but I can't tell you how many teenagers and under I've seen in the mall in front of dressing room mirrors doing the floss. Where does that fall? What if you curse a lot, but you still call your audience the 9-year-old army? Cues, or you have big reactions to scary games that kids could find funny. Haha, tee, look at the adult man screaming at the computer screen. All of them, rightfully or no, could be losing 80 to 90% of their salary in a month. I don't know where some of these channels fall. I don't know how you make that call, and I'm sure that not many people at YouTube and definitely at the FTC knows how to make that call either. The problem now is that every channel on YouTube has to self-identify whether or not they believe that their videos are attractive to kids before January 2020. We all got a form to fill out, sent to our emails, sent in our video manager, so we don't have long to make these decisions. And real talk, even for me, who has always intended this channel to be a high school and up channel, where we talk about things like astrophysics, or cyber hacking, or the DSM-5 and abnormal psychology, I feel nervous about this, right? Because we talk about Pokemon and Minecraft and Nintendo properties, stuff that kids like to watch. YouTubers who exist in this weird gray area have even started talking about adding a string of expletives to the beginning of every one of their videos to help solidify the fact that their video is indeed intended for adults. That is how uncertain the YouTube community is feeling about this. The irony of the whole thing is that just a few months ago, I was talking about how YouTube was killing gaming, or more accurately, how brand safety was killing gaming. How games like Mortal Kombat and Call of Duty will struggle to survive in a system that, because of advertiser fears, limits the visibility of those sorts of videos. They're violent, they're too edgy. And that was actually confirmed by Susan in her interview with me.
We realize that simulated violence and game violence is very different, of course, than real violence.
Yeah.
And so we're actually going to be separating them.
But now you have yourself the direct opposite of that problem. Things that are suddenly too brand safe, too kid friendly, are getting hit from the other direction. So everything on YouTube is being squeezed toward this middle ground. It's just gonna end up being like a mass of gray goo, bland, middle of the road, not interesting. Can't be edgy, but you can't be too family friendly. You might attract too many kids. Welcome to the new face of YouTube, where we sit on a couch and can't talk about anything you're interested in, but also can't be edgy enough to be funny. This, my friends, is the content that you'll be getting. Let's cut to a guy teaching us how to write a master's thesis. Make sure he's standing in front of a very neutral whiteboard.
O stands for operational.
He will be the #1 most subscribed channel on YouTube. Make it happen, Mark Proctor. YouTube, through it all, have been laying low. They're very adamant that they're not giving legal advice to help anyone categorize their content. And it kind of makes sense, because if they were, it would be, first off, an impossible task. YouTube is way too big to possibly decide what's kid content from what isn't, and no existing AI can accurately sort that sort of thing out. But just as importantly, if YouTube did offer that advice to creators, and the FTC disagreed with that ruling for whatever reason, YouTube would be the one legally responsible. So, as long as YouTube doesn't make that decision, they can stand aside, look the other way if, you know, the FTC decides to bring the hammer down on a couple of channels to make an example out of anyone. And the FTC can do that to get this, the tune of over $42,000 per video for any video that they feel has been miscategorized as not for kids, when in reality they feel like it was kids' content. Imagine a channel who's been posting daily family vlogs for 4 years, and all of a sudden you're hit with $42,000 of fines for each of your last 600 videos? Penalties like this could wipe out families. They could wipe out businesses overnight. There is nothing standing between the entire federal agency of the FTC and us independent YouTubers. Ultimately, there's not a whole lot that we as individual content creators can do in this situation, except what I'm doing now, talking about it, raising awareness, telling you about the trouble that we'll be facing in 2020. At the end of the day, this isn't about condemning YouTube for making mistakes about how they advertise their platform, and it isn't about condemning the FTC for doing their job and trying to protect the kids. It's just about bringing the issue to light. As a content creator, I recognize that it's in all of our best interests to educate everything from creators to audiences to, yes, even the FTC, who don't know how to watch this platform, but maybe we can get the information to them via facsimile. That's the word they used. Right now, content creators just don't understand how to categorize our content. We need more guidance because we're being forced into what is quite honestly a legal guessing game with our entire livelihoods on the line. It's like the worst test possible. And for every incorrect answer, you lose not a grade point, you lose $42,000. Jeez. No curve on that one. The FTC, meanwhile, doesn't understand how incredibly broad the spectrum of online content is, how nuanced some of this stuff can be. There's a ton of content out there that's not aimed at kids that could very well be in danger of being miscategorized, and that's going to be hurtful to everyone. And finally, audiences. You guys, the viewers at home, you don't currently understand that some of the creators that you've loved and followed for years are in serious jeopardy, and in some cases could be demonetized out of existence in 2020, or have to change their entire content calendars to something that feels more mature, not as child-friendly, in order to survive. We have to take the brunt any way you look at it. We're still in the middle of all this, and I strongly encourage you to read more about it. I left a bunch of links down in the description below, so whether you're a fan or a creator, just get informed. The FTC is also accepting comments on these new laws that could help shape where they go in the future, so put in your well thought out comments and questions there. No rage comments, my friends. We gotta be thoughtful, considerate, and articulate. In this case, we all need to work together to be advocates for not just our favorite creators, but the platform that we exist on. So talk about it, share information, empower your favorite creators with the information they need to protect themselves moving forward into 2020, and fingers crossed that we'll all be around to talk about this again next year. That's a scary thought. You know how you could help, though? By buying our merch!
Holiday Theory.
So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and of course, peace out, people. Peace.